Okay, so continuing to look into the chapter here on founders and manifestations. Founders can be prophets. What is a prophet? A prophet is someone who brings the message of God. Now this next statement, founders can be prophets, but not all prophets are founders, may seem to be a little confusing. So the first part is okay, we're good with that. The second part, not all prophets are founders. What this refers to is the different founders in antiquity. A lot of people are familiar with those from the Hebrew Bible, what Christians refer to as the Old Testament prophets such as Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah. Those are all prophets, yes, but they did not found a religion. Also, that next statement, don't confuse prophet with prophecy. Prophet, that's the person. Prophecy would be the message therein that's carried to the people. Then, two examples here. Judaism was founded by the prophet Moses. Now, a lot of people pause and say, well, wait a second, Mr. K. I thought that Abraham was the founder for Judaism. And the argument can be made that it was Moses and not Abraham, and I tend to subscribe to this argument. Reason being, in order to be Jewish, if you're male, you had to have been circumcised. In addition, you have to follow Torah, which is the law, as well as adhere to dietary restrictions. And out of those three, Abraham was only circumcised. But when we get to Moses, all three, he followed all three. And that's why I follow the argument that Moses is the founder of Judaism and not Abraham. And as well, Islam was founded by the Prophet Muhammad. So, this next slide has a pictogram I'd like for you to remember. So what does a prophet do? Prophet, that's that screen bean, that little figure there, receives a message from God. The Word of God comes down into the prophet and then carries the Word of God to the people. So what a prophet is just an instrument or conduit. So if you think about it, what a prophet is, it's an instrument, a trumpet for God. The message that the prophet brings to the people is not his or her own, but the word, the message comes from God. Now what's interesting is that a prophet does not choose God. God chooses the prophet. And when we look at some different examples, it's really interesting that it seems like God could have picked a better person to be prophet. For example, the prophet Muhammad was illiterate, but was chosen and recited the Holy Quran, which the prophet Muhammad took to the people. Another example, God picked Moses to be a prophet and to carry his message to Pharaoh, even though Moses was not a good public speaker. Scholars believe that Moses might have had a stutter or a stammer, and this is why Moses hemmed and hawed and kind of wanted to shrug off being chosen, but took it and went and delivered it to Pharaoh. So, prophet. Remember this little pictogram. Next is founder as sage. What is a sage? A sage is a very wise person. Notice we're talking about wisdom, not necessarily book learning, intelligence. There's a difference. So, founders can be sages, but all sages are founders. What does that mean? A sage, a wise person, can found a religion, but not all wise people are founders. In other words, not all sages start a religion. Two examples. Buddhism was founded by Siddhartha Gautama, and Confucianism was founded by Confucius. So now, do you remember when I said please remember that little pictogram? Okay, you got it remembered? Now what's changed on the pictogram? That's right, God is absent. Sages are not prophets. Sages do not receive a message from God. The difference, you may ask? What sages do is they've uncovered for themselves that deeper reality, that hidden truth, that way. But like prophets, sages then go to the people and share that message for the benefit of humanity. So the difference between those two pictograms, again, is the absence of God. Now, what's really interesting, a lot of people don't know this, but when Confucius, as well as Siddhartha Gautama, referred to today as the Buddha, were alive, people came after hearing their teachings and said, "Wow, are you God? Are you one of the gods?" And guess what the answer always was? No. And this is an important thing to remember regarding sages. Sages made no such claims to be God. The absence of God with the sages compared to prophets. Now, the third type of founder is incarnations. Looking at the word incarnation, we break it down and we see the prefix in. That means within, like if you inhabit a dwelling, you are within it. Carn, the root, means flesh, like carnivore, a meat eater, a flesh eater. So the word incarnation literally means enfleshed, or put into a fleshly or earthly body. To be embodied. Now, what is being embodied? What is being put into an earthly body? And that is the divine. With an incarnation, this is when God takes on human form. And the two religions that believe in incarnation are Christianity and Hinduism. So we'll continue to talk about incarnations in the next lecture.